Your in-laws are not your friends. That goes for mother-in-law, father-in-law, sister-in-law, brother.
Dealing with toxic in-laws can be one of the most challenging aspects of a relationship. When you marry someone, you're not just marrying them, you're also connecting with their family. And though some in-laws can be warm and loving, others can make you question your patience, boundaries, and sanity. So today we're going to dive in a topic of toxic in-laws, how to recognize the signs and ways to handle them without losing your peace of mind. So I've put the videos together so that you watch and learn, and I'll be back to share my 2 cents.
Your in-laws are not your friends. That goes for mother-in-law, father-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, and any other in-law you can possibly think of. The worst thing you can do is trust them and let them into your personal life, or let them know anything about your personal life or your family life or anything that pertains to you. At the end of the day, these are just your in-laws. They are not family. They are not friends. They are your husband's family or your wife's family, and that's it. Because guess what? The second things start going south, they will let you know you are not a part of that family. I think the biggest red flag is when a mother-in-law tells her new daughter-in-law, oh, you're just like my daughter. Or when the sister-in-law tells her new sister-in-law, oh, you're like a sister to me. You will never be their daughter. You will never be their sister. And they will let you know that any chance they get. Once things start going bad between you and your spouse, they will let you know exactly where you stand in their lives and in their family. And they will be so quick to turn on you. Never give too much information about your personal life or about your family life with your own parents or with your own siblings. Because let me tell you something, when stuff starts going bad, everything that you could have ever trusted them with will come out. Everything you could have ever said will come out. And a mother's claws will come out for her son. I mean, she will literally turn against her own daughter for her son. So don't think for a second that she will have your side when shit hits the fan. Know your place in the family. Know your role in the family. Don't get too comfortable with anyone, and don't let anyone get too comfortable with you. Once everyone understands where they are in each other's lives, you should be good.
Hey man, I get it. Having a mother-in-law that you're afraid to see, makes you anxious to be around, all the things, is the worst. It's actually a lot like having an intimidating coworker or a coworker that does microaggression type bullying in the office, where everyone else seems to tolerate it, but you know that they're bullying you. The difference is, in those situations, generally, you come home from work and you can talk to your partner about it in a really open, candid, raw way. For a lot of people, that isn't the case with these mother-in-law issues. And if that sounds like you, come over to our Facebook group. I get it. You might not want to talk to your husband about it. You might be processing on your own still, or there might be a limit to how much you want to talk to your husband about it, and that's totally okay. No one's even saying you have to share. If you just want to feel less alone, the link to join is in my bio, and we'd love to see you there.
If you have a mother-in-law who disrespects you, it's actually not your mother-in-law that has failed you, it is your husband. A mother-in-law can only be as toxic towards you as your husband allows. A lot of husbands will say, oh, I don't want to rock the boat. It's just how she is. But the fact is, the boat has already been rocked by a toxic mother-in-law. A husband who values his wife and wants his marriage to last will not tolerate his family disrespecting his wife. And the truth is, over time, it is very hard, if not impossible, for a wife to respect her husband if he can't even stand up to his own mother. And what I've seen in so many situations, a mother-in-law will make passive-aggressive remarks towards the wife, or blatantly cruel, rude comments towards the wife, or just consistently and purposefully disagree with what the wife values, with how she thinks, with her opinions. But here's the thing, a mother-in-law that is very dysfunctional actually gets a kick out of the fact that she can do that to her daughter-in-law because she knows her son is too weak to stand up for his wife. But while I get asked often by women, how do I deal with a toxic mother-in-law? Your husband should be. A husband should be protecting his wife from his own family. And a man who can't even do that is a coward. A man who is willing to risk the peace in his home with his wife because he's afraid to confront his mom, I don't understand it. Couldn't be me, because for me, if you disrespect my spouse, I'll put you in your place.
People having a strained relationship with their in-laws to the point where they don't want to see them or they don't want to spend time with them is a weird one, because it's really something you can't relate to unless you've gone through it. For that reason, it's a really hard thing to talk about to other people because unless you know that they too have a challenging relationship with their in-laws, they're not really going to get it. Also, challenging relationships with in-laws are more often than not death by a thousand cuts rather than some big out of the blue egregious example. Sometimes there is the big blow up that's led to the ultimate no contact or whatever it is, but usually that's a culmination of the death by a thousand cuts. And for that reason too, it's a challenging thing to talk about with other people because if they are curious about what's happened in the relationship and you're willing to talk about it, all the examples you have could seem pretty minor on the surface. Point is, if you have someone in your life when you exchange plans with them for what they're doing this weekend and it doesn't include one side of the family, just be gentle as you probe as to why. Comments like, well, she's your husband's mom, can't you take the high road, is invalidating because it implies that the person you're speaking to, presumably a friend or close acquaintance, hasn't been taking the high road for the relationship up until now. Sharing presumed disappointment, like, oh, that's disappointing for the kids, they won't get to see their cousins. Like, yeah, they know. The people who are choosing to not see one side of the family this year, they're disappointed about it too. Even if they know it's the decision they need to make for their own mental health or for whatever reason for right now, it's still never an easy decision to make. I'd also just encourage you to be really gentle if you are going to probe as to why that relationship is at a point where they're not spending the holiday together. Sometimes there is no tension and it's just a factor of geography or they alternate years. But if you do know or suspect that it was a tenuous relationship or is, including something like if you're okay talking about it or if you're comfortable talking about it rather than, oh my God, tell me why, like it's some hot gossip, like the unraveling of one of their extended family relationships is hot tea to you. And if someone does choose to share with you why they're at the point in their relationship that they are, just know that you should empathetically listen and not try to offer solutions at that moment, unless they ask, of course. And to anyone who's had to make a tough decision regarding their family relationships this holiday, I'm thinking of you, and I hope you have a happy holiday.
Video, guys. So I'm just here to share my 2 cents, what I think about today's video, dealing with toxic in-laws, okay? Because it's so emotional draining. So let's start with the signs of toxicity. Toxic in-laws often overstep boundaries, okay, meddle in your relationship or try to exert control. For example, a mother-in-law might criticize your parenting style, cooking, or how you run your household. A father-in-law might make dismissive or condensing comments about your career choices. Then there are the in-laws who play favorites, comparing you to other families members or the ex-partner of your spouse. One of the most toxic behavior is manipulation. Some in-laws use guilt trips to control your actions, saying things like, we sacrifice so much for our child and now you're taking them away from us. Others may try to turn your spouse against you by planting seeds of doubt or steering your drama. These behaviors are exhausting and can seriously strain your relationship if not addressed. Now let's talk about why dealing with toxic in-laws is so hard. The biggest challenge is balancing respect with self-respect. You want to honor your partner's family, but at the same time, you need to stand up for yourself. It's a fine line to walk, especially when emotions are high, and let's not forget the pressure from your spouse, who might feel torn between their love for you and their loyalty to their family. So, how do you handle toxic in laws? The first step is setting clear boundaries. Boundaries are essential in a relationship, but they're especially important when dealing with toxic people. For example, if your in laws constantly drop by there unannounced, let them know that you don't appreciate a heads up before visits. They're mainly in your parenting decisions. Remind them that while their advice is valued, the final say rests with you and your spouse. The key to setting boundaries is consistency. Toxic in-law will often test your limits to see how far they can push you. If you give them once, they keep pushing. Stand firm and don't be afraid to reinforce your boundaries as needed. Another crucial step is communication with your spouse. It's essential to present a united front when dealing with toxic in-law. Sit down with your partner and discuss your concerns openly and honestly. Avoid blaming their family and instead focus on how their behavior affects you and your relationship. For example, instead of saying your mom is controlling, and you could say, I feel undermined when your mom criticizes my decisions. Once you have had this conversation, work together to come up with strategies for managing the situation. This might mean your spouse stepping in to address issues directly to their family. It could involve settling joint boundaries. The goal is to ensure that both of you feel supported and respected. Sometimes, despite your best effort, toxic in-laws refuse to change. In these cases, it's okay to distance yourself from them. Distancing doesn't mean cutting ties completely, it just means limiting your interactions to protect your peace. This could look like attending fewer family gatherings, keeping conversation light and surface level, or even taking a break from visits altogether. It's also important to take care of yourself emotionally. Dealing with toxic in laws can be draining, so prioritize self-care and seek support from trusted friends or therapists. Venting to someone outside the situation can help you process your feelings and gain protective or perspective. One thing to remember is that you can't control your in-laws' behavior, but you can control how to respond. Toxic people thrive on your reaction. So the less you engage with their negativity, the less power they have over you. Choose your battles wisely and don't let them pull you in an unnecessary drama. Okay? Let's talk about forgiveness. Forgiving toxic in-law doesn't mean excusing their behavior or letting them off the hook. It means letting go of the resentment so you can move forward with the peace in your heart. Forgiveness for your benefit, not their. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional burden of their toxicity. So dealing with toxic in-laws is never easy, but it's manageable with the right strategies and support. Remember to set boundaries, communication openly, your spouse and prioritize your own well-being. You deserve a happy and healthy relationship, not even toxic in-laws should stand in the way between. If you ever dealt with a toxic or currently navigating this situation, share your story in the comment section below, because and tell us how did you handle it and what advice you give to others. Let's create a space where we can support and learn from each other, because no one should have the first face this one alone. Okay, so that's a video for today, guys. I don't know what you think. Have you ever dealt with a toxic in-law? It's either the mother-in-law or both are toxic sister-in-law. Kind of leave the comments in the comment section, because it's crazy, guys. Oh my god. I think I've dealt with some, but oh my god, God gave me some wisdom. So thank you so much for clicking, guys. I really appreciate for your coming, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next episode. Bye bye.